Well, thanks, Senator Blumenthal, and I want to thank the chair and the ranking member, and I want to thank you, Mr. Dodaro, for your service and for being here, and for all the folks from the GAO who are here this morning and do this work. Thank you for your work. I want to start with a question and really drilling down on technology issues. You're hearing about it all around the dais this morning. In 2023, the federal government is expected to spend more than $100 billion on new and existing technology. GAO's high-risk list makes two recommendations to help lower costs and better manage technology purchases all across the government. First, GAO recommends that Congress consider giving the Federal Chief Information Officer greater responsibility to address longstanding technology challenges. How could expanding the role of the federal CIO help curb excessive federal spending on technology, and what specific authority do you believe the federal CIO still needs?
I'm going to ask Nick to respond to this, Senator, but first, in historical perspective, I worked with the Congress, and this committee actually, back in 1996 to create the Clinger-Cohen Act, to create chief information officers in the government. They were intended to have much greater responsibilities than what it's played out over the years. Congress attempted to change this in 2014 with the Federal Information Technology Reform Act, but still, the CIOs do not have all the authorities. Nick can give the details on what they need.
Thank you.
Yeah, Senator, two quick thoughts. First, with respect to the federal CIO's own position, the reality is that the federal government represents probably the biggest buyer of technology within the nation. And so it's important for us to have a way to know that, that IT's money is being spent effectively. And so having a strong federal CIO presence would allow that individual to bring federal agencies to the table, CIOs and leaders of agencies, to know not only are they spending money wisely, but if there's opportunities to leverage that buying power, that we're seeing shared services be leveraged. And then the other side of it is ultimately to hold CIOs accountable and federal agency heads accountable towards those CIOs as well. We continue to see federal agencies improve in aligning the CIO with agency leadership so that they can actually have the ability to see across a federal agency whether IT dollars are being spent. It's a lot of money and really does require a stronger oversight.
Well, thank you for that. And you just referenced quickly the importance of collaboration between the CIOs and their agency leadership, but can you talk a little bit more about why that collaboration is so important for reducing IT costs and ensuring that agencies have the technology they need to serve the American people?
Certainly. So we have seen on the GSA side, General Services Administration has established a lot of functions that allow agencies to leverage shared services, which is one way to bring the costs down. But in order to encourage agencies to actually leverage those available services, a federal CIO could bring CIOs to the table and ensure that we are ultimately using our buying power effectively.
I think the other issue, Senator, in that case is that a lot of the program managers that actually run the programs have their own ideas on what they think they need in technology-wise, and sometimes it's not the most efficient approach. So you need a technical person to partner with the program people, but they need to be supported by the agency head. So that communication needs to be there in order to make the right decisions.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about the National Cybersecurity Strategy while we are at it. For 25 years, the high-risk list has highlighted the importance of cybersecurity as a matter of national security, affecting not only government, but individual schools and businesses, and you've talked about that. As you mentioned, last month, the Biden administration released the first ever national cybersecurity strategy, something that GAO has supported for years. What should be the federal government's next step towards executing the national cybersecurity strategy?
Ultimately, an implementation plan, Senator. There are a lot of to-dos in that strategy, and we commend the administration for pursuing it. We've seen it align quite closely to many of the actions that we've been calling for over the years. But the rubber will meet the road ultimately with implementation of those strategic goals. And you mentioned, for example, the issues that we see, for example, in K through 12 schools and the ransomware attacks that we see are only going to be assisted by federal government agencies if we have better coordination. We would want to see the implementation plan reflect that coordination as well.
And I will also urge them to look at collaborating with the Center on Internet Security more effectively, because I think they're doing some pretty good work, too. Mr. Dodaro, I want to move to a different topic, and thank you for highlighting the substance misuse crisis in your testimony. In 2022, New Hampshire had the highest death toll from drug overdoses since 2017, and as of today, in 2023, 55 people in my small state have died from drug overdoses. Sadly, these numbers reflect a national trend. GAO found that expanded access to medication-assisted treatment is critical to getting more people into recovery. I'm proud that my bipartisan bill with Senator Murkowski was recently signed into law to expand the number of providers who are able to prescribe this life-saving treatment. The high-risk list, however, points out that the Office of National Drug Control Policy's 2022 National Drug Control Strategy did not identify resources needed to expand the availability of medication-assisted treatment so that more people can get it. Why is it important to identify financial, personnel, or other resources needed to expand access to medication-assisted treatment?
Actually, that's a very important issue. We've looked at it in terms of both how Medicaid funds can be used for that, as well as having additional supporting assistance. But part of the problem we've had with the strategy is it doesn't allocate resources appropriately, so we could measure the impact in that area. But it's very important. I'll ask Jess Farb, who's the director of our healthcare area, to address that more specifically.
Senator, I think in terms of what's expected in the Office of National Drug Control Strategy, we are looking to see metrics and goals that will measure the spending that you're talking about to make sure that there is the correct amount of funds available to support this. It's definitely a tool that's very important for recovery from drug misuse, and I wanted to also bring in my colleague Charles Johnson as well, who is my partner in this.
Thank you.
Senator, also, one of the things we did see absent from the strategy was they have goals set up, but they don't have the budget allocations over a 5-year period. And what we've heard from the ONDCP is that they don't disclose the president's budget over a 5-year period. But we'll continue to look into this and to work with them to see if we can get them to think about that, as well as engaging with some of the key partners, other agencies involved, as well as state and locals.
Well, thank you. I mean, one of our challenges now that we are allowing much more access to medication-assisted treatment is to figure out how to make sure that it is truly accessible and that pharmacies are participating as well. So I look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.